Quickly and trying to catch Argentina napping. McAllister can't make the play. Lopez Cabral! It's incredible! It's remarkable! It's almost unbelievable! It's Cape Verde for a second time tonight, tying the game!
Howdy ho, P1s, and welcome back to the KickAround. Saturdays, 2 to 4 here in our natural habitat of Sports Radio 96.7 and 1310, The Ticket, where you, the good, beloved P1, sits around, talks soccer, and all that implies. Don't forget, you can find out more about the show on our website, thekickaround.com. I'm here, but to my left, but to your right, as you stare with great admiration and reminisce about the good times from the last 6 weeks. It is the world's most interesting man, Andy Swift.
Hello, Peter. Reminisce. I thought this was the first kick around of the 2030 World Cup.
This is the super preview show?
Yes. Right? No?
Something like that,
okay.
Yeah. Good times. Yes, so today marks the old school version of the kick around.
And by old school, you mean 6 weeks ago?
Yes. When I went to write the run sheet today, I couldn't remember what the last episode number was, because when we did the show, the KickAround show, we changed the way we were titling the shows to make sense for the World Cup.
Show.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I couldn't remember what episode number we ended with.
Where are we, by the way? Did you find it?
This is episode number 447.
Okay.
So there
Lucky
you are.
7,
yeah.
Lucky 4.
Yes. And so, no, unfortunately, if you're tuning in with great excitement to hear Lars again, Lars is not here. Lars is back in Norway. We still have that, though.
He left behind his, what do you call that, the horn? The Viking...
He did.
The Viking horn. So now he said, use this when you must.
Wait, we could also do this.
Lars.
I feel like that's more his intro.
We didn't use this enough during the KickAround World Cup.
The Viking horn, though, this is how we will find him. When we need Lars, we just...
And then an alto magically shows up.
I took one last ode to alto, if I may.
Please.
Took the last dinner we all had together, the only dinner we had, the one that you were just talking about in our mix, where he ate the tomahawk.
He ate everybody's.
Yes, everybody's a steak bone.
I'm not going to eat like this ever again until I come back, so I'm going to eat it all.
So he was gracious enough to offer his alto to us on the way back home to my wife and I. So the alto dropped us off on the way to taking him one last time before his flight in the morning. And sure enough, we get in, and the driver knows him, and they just hit it off. And oh, good to see you again, Lars, and this and that. And they're talking about each other's families, and it was just Heather and I were just looking at each other, going like, "Wow."
It was really funny because I feel like Look, having Lars for the World Cup was the best thing we could have ever possibly done. It was great.
Yeah.
But as we noticed with the mix with the guys before, it's like, oh, it's just you two now?
Yeah. Oh, right. It's like, hello, it's normal Saturday, kick around. Like, they barely wanted to talk to us. Like, be off. Like, man.
They just wanted to talk about Lars's hat.
We should bring a cutoff off Lars next time.
We should. We should probably just go get a big old cutout, a big 6'4" cutout of Lars. It was great. Well, hopefully we'll hear from Lars eventually at some point. We have not heard from him since he got on a plane yesterday or 2 days ago, so we are assuming he's alive and well, and at some point he'll surface.
His hometown, very near the North Pole, the Arctic Circle.
All right, since this is old school, it's time now for the most important segment. We're moving back to the old stuff, Andy.
Okay.
And we got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to do a one more kind of little...
You know the rule with me today.
What?
I laid down the law. We're going to do this show today.
Yes.
No club talk, unless it's like local stuff.
Right. Not anything hardcore.
Okay.
No
All
hardcore.
Right, I can
no
see
predictions.
You're breaking the rules.
Well, no.
Okay.
Really, the big thing that's moving the needle is now suddenly the dam is broken on terms of coaching announcements. And obviously the big one is the one that we started hearing a week or so ago. Jurgen Klopp is now the manager of Germany.
For now, but the media is in total control of when he will not be the coach
Okay.
anymore.
Okay, so obviously you're aware of his,
Yes.
like, he shows up for this media conference, and if it wasn't in German, I'd play it for you, but essentially he says, look, I know how you guys do this. The second you guys say anything about my family or my children or something, you can criticize me.
Yeah.
But if you go after my family, I quit.
Like they did with Nagelsmann, apparently.
Yes, or Tuchel.
Yeah.
Because I know how you did this
Yeah.
with the other guys, but if you do this with me,
Yeah.
I quit. And I won't take a severance or anything. I'll just leave. And I thought, isn't this like telling a room of burglars that you've left the key to your house
Yes.
under a rock by the mailbox?
Because as soon as the media wants him out of there, they'll just, whatever. One paragraph about the family, and he's done.
It just didn't feel like a really good way to start that relationship. Which then made me wonder, how badly does he want to manage these days?
His terms. Like 100% his terms.
Yeah.
I think he really wanted this gig.
Yeah, probably.
He really wanted this gig, and I think he's great.
So
for
is
the German
the
national
whole threat to quit if you say something bad about my wife thing just trying to make his family feel better about it, or is he really serious about it?
Maybe he's serious about it, and he feels like, okay, if it's something shallow and superficial, not too bad, I won't quit. But if it's something bad, media will have to think twice because they also want the relationship with him, right? Even beyond his national team days.
Well, I would assume everybody, and I haven't read into this, but my assumption is everybody in Germany is over the moon that Jurgen Klopp has chosen to come manage their national team.
This is so good for the German national team because how he approaches just tactics and man management and everything that goes with coaching a team, I think is perfect for the German national team.
Yeah, I would assume everybody is crazy excited, but
and it's been a bit.
It was a very weird way.
It's been a bit for this national team. It's 2014; they won it all. I mean, it's the German national team, so expectations are always sky high. It's kind of like Brazil. Brazil and Germany, the two most successful teams in World Cup history. They haven't done anything since 2014. That's how many World Cup? 3 World Cups now.
Yeah.
And 2030, the next one, I think they're one of the favorites, just like that, because he's coach.
It'd be like the Cowboys hiring a new football coach, and that coach in his press conference going, look, this is going to be great unless Gordo decides to do an 840 version of me and my voice.
Then
and if that happens, I quit.
Yeah, then everybody would blame the.
And then, of course, Gordon immediately would workshop it as quickly as possible.
Right. But
go
ahead.
Well, then the other one that kind of I thought we were going to get Pep Guardiola at a national team level. It looked like he was trying to do something with Italy and then bailed out.
He did for now.
Yeah.
Because Zidane is now France.
Zidane's at France.
Yeah.
Pep turned down the Italy job at least for a little bit. And I guess I saw that Pirlo is going to take that gig is the last name I saw.
Oh, Pirlo. Okay.
Which I guess makes sense. And then Van Bommel took the Dutch gig.
Yeah.
And
the heavyweights, doing big things.
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
England,
Brazil still needs to hire.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
Ancelotti staying in Brazil?
No, he was done that day.
And Bielsa quit Uruguay.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He
or
was
did he
done.
get
He
fired?
was done. I think in the post-game interview on the field, he said, "I'm done." He blamed himself, which is nice. I mean, that's
Jesse
very Bielsa.
still in Canada, or did he get?
No, Jesse's Canada lifetime. Man.
Oh, okay. And obviously, the one that I thought we were going to know for sure, we'll talk about more a little bit later.
Tuchel?
No, Pochettino.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm talking about the heavyweights right now. We're talking about the heavyweights.
Sorry. Yeah, Tuchel.
Tuchel continues, I guess.
I am assuming he stays.
Definitely unpopular. And Argentina's coach, I think, Scaloni, stays.
Yeah,
I think.
Man, what is like? Have you seen the insanity going around about
what happened in the locker room?
The conspiracy theories and
apparently 2 players got in a fight in the locker room.
Over what?
Who knows? Whatever, like
before
emotions. Before the game, right before, and so that altered them a little bit. But I think beyond that, there's nothing there.
Okay. What was the? We were at dinner the other night, and one of the people that worked there immediately came up to us and was like, have you heard because they were Argentinian. Have you heard the conspiracy? No.
Yes, I've heard of.
Because they put the sign out on the field, they were told they either lose the World Cup final or they would be thrown out of the World Cup for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, what?
No.
Conspiracy theories are crazy stuff. All right. Now we have to turn to the other part of the World Cup aftermath, which is the leadership stuff and the controversies surrounding Trump and Infantino and Balogun. Norway has, I don't know why Norway feels obligated to butt in on this, but they say that they're considering filing an ethics complaint over that whole deal.
Yeah, this is, if in fact, look, a head of state calling for something is not new. The head of the sporting organization that acts on it, without going to a committee, and it's a one-man show apparently, like the one person that leads that committee made the unilateral decision to go ahead and lift the ban. That's not a good look.
No.
And that's what we're talking about, because have you crossed certain lines of competitive balance, or not competitive balance, what's the word I'm looking for, but ethical competitive.
Yeah.
And so, that's why Infantino's going to get it. But Africa, the Confederation, the African Confederation has just backed Infantino. They have 53 votes. That's 1/4 of the votes for the next election of the next president of FIFA. I mean, that basically seals the deal.
Yeah. It is a pretty incestuous system of how FIFA presidents end up staying there, because the thing that he gets most criticized for is exactly the thing that helps keep him in place, which is generating revenue that then he can pass down to all the individual voters who are never going to get that money otherwise.
Right.
The little Caribbean nations, little African nations.
Yeah.
Oceania nations.
I mean, CONCACAF, there was a time when it was thought, North and Central America could divest themselves and separate from the Caribbean and have get two separate confederations. But the Caribbean, they have 35 votes or something like that. Just a lot of votes. So you don't want to.
And
do
a
that.
U.S. vote's equal to
So
Curacao.
For CONCACAF to stay stronger in the grand scheme of things, they need all the votes. So that's why.
Well, the IOC did announce that they will not be investigating any kind of political neutrality issues with Infantino, because I guess they were asked to kind of poke into that and figure out if something bad happened, and they said, "Yep, we don't want anything."
Yeah,
to do
the thing is, it's if it was a one-off, it would be one thing. But the whole Ronaldo thing, why was his suspension lifted so he can play in the World Cup, and then 2034 being assigned to Saudi Arabia without any kind of vote or anything? It was just one day. He announced, the 2034. It's the accumulation of these things that I think have irked some people.
I do think that we, in many years, we'll look back on this World Cup in the same way. In that particular incident, the Balogun incident, and the whole thing with the rescinding of the red card, in the same way we look back on other famous World Cup incidences, which are almost kind of like the charming aspect of the World Cup.
Yeah, right. It's a great way to put it.
You know what I'm saying?
Part of lore. World Cup
the
lore.
World Cup lore.
It's World Cup lore.
Name the player who got a red card back in 50 years ago.
But it does lead to the conspiracy. Like Croatia got eliminated by Ronaldo's Portugal because the ball touched hair. Right? So then it makes one go, well, there's a conspiracy. Like, did it touch that? It just leads to those kind of questions.
Sure. Yes.
That's the issue.
Yeah, and that's the same mechanism that apparently couldn't determine or read the ball hitting a wire.
Right, exactly.
Which then led to an England goal to help them beat Norway.
So sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends, so.
When you think back about the world, well, let's do that next. Last thing, and this is where I may begin to cross a little bit of the Andy line, but I am curious, have you paid attention at all at how ridiculous the transfer window has suddenly accelerated?
Are you
in the
talking
last
specifically about the trade?
Well, I mean that, but like Michael Olise going to Real Madrid, the Jan Diamante battle, and all the different clubs that want to get him.
I've read the headlines. I haven't read the details. How's that?
Okay. Do you have any vibe about your Liverpool at this point?
That apparently they need more players, according to the new coach. So, okay, he's just a regular coach. because that's what coaches say. They need more players.
I mean, every day it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And we'll talk more about the MLS stuff because there's been some significant additions, and I think there are more to come within the league. Even Dallas, I think, is about to make some announcements here in the next week or so.
Well, Peter, I'm going to pay very close attention to the Liverpool against Wrexham exhibition match in the U.S. to kind of gauge where Liverpool is.
When do they play?
I don't know. They play at some point. Aren't they playing Liverpool, or are they playing?
Well, they played Man United a week or so ago in Holland, I think, in the Netherlands, or in.
July 29th at Yankee Stadium. You have one Wrexham versus Liverpool
on that tiny little
friendly.
Field. Oh, no.
So I will pay close attention to that match to see where Liverpool.
Who do you root for? Your club or your hero?
Honestly, I will maybe read about the score the next day.
Oh, that's all you care about.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, Vizinha, remember him?
The
goalie of the team that scored the goal, the wonderful goal that was just played for us in the Open, signed with Colo-Colo in Chile. So
did he really?
Chile, saying, we're part of this World Cup, even though we didn't make it. We signed the
most famous goalkeeper out of the tournament.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I didn't hear about that one.
With Vidal.
Obviously, the big one everybody's got freaked out about is the Morgan Rogers $1 billion deal to go to Chelsea, which now puts Morgan Rogers and Cole Palmer on the same team together. But again, they've got a whole new manager.
One good World Cup. Look at what that does.
I know. It is quite crazy. And the money spent by City on Elliot Anderson.
Yeah.
It's gone a little bit wild.
Chelsea, we thought they'd change their ways, but apparently they're still cooking strong. So
much so that they've cut a deal for multiple millions of dollars with our very own FC Dallas for a 15-year-old kid who has never played a minute of professional soccer.
This is how it happens.
And we'll talk more about that here in just a little bit. Congratulations to Mr. Flowers, by the way. All right, so there's just a little bit of headlines, just dipping our toe back into those waters for the first time, see how it feels. When we come back, we will go and revisit the World Cup just one last time because I think we both have some thoughts and observations that we would love to share with you. And we'll do that next on the KickAround. Welcome back to the KickAround. As we settle back into our natural form of things, we'll talk about what's coming up for the show long term here in just a little bit. You know, one of the things, Andy, that came out of the World Cup is I've had multiple people contact me, or I've seen people online go, okay, I'm suckered in. Soccer, I'm into this. How do I find a club? And I giggled to myself because this is something you and I have talked about for more than a decade.
Yeah.
We have the rules. We have, and I now, because you and I built this so many years ago, we have a way for people to do that. So if you just go to the KickAround.com, at the very top, there's a thing that says find a club. We have the proper way of going about it, and we have the speedy, automated, let somebody choose it for you way of going about it. And you can find all of that over on our website, thekickaround.com. So we'll talk more about that in detail some other day.
You know, this segment's about the recap, the wrap-up, World Cup wrap-up, and it's a little bit of a I told you so segment.
Well, that's why we're doing this.
Because of, the things we said leading up to this World Cup, and I think a lot of those things came true, but one aspect that we didn't really get into or talk about or didn't know what, we didn't have exact expectations was the TV numbers. And how insane those would turn out to be.
Yeah, it was funny. I was producing the Hardline Tuesday when the recalculated final numbers came out. And I will never forget, I was looking through the glass window when Bob Sturm, who's a soccer fan, for those who listen to KickAround, but whatever, Bob literally, as he was on the air, saw this number, the 66 million number of the final. and he couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because it is a significantly impressive and important metric or number or result that means something and on a vast scale. Like, other than the Super Bowl, it is a number that exceeds the final episode of Friends or MASH.
Right. It for a sporting event, other than the Super Bowl, it goes back to 1994 as the most watched sporting event on U.S. television.
And then several other people started digging into some of the specifics about minutes watched or per game. And I think it was like 7.7 or just under 8 million on average for every single of all 104 games. And I think there were, what was did you remember the number of games that had at least 20 million people watching?
No.
It was a significant number.
Yes.
And then the one piece of data that completely blew my socks off was that the total number of minutes viewed across English and Spanish broadcasting, streaming, etc. in the United States of World Cup watching was a number in the billions, hundreds of billions or something, that was greater than the same time frame of minutes watched of the NFL in the middle of an NFL season.
Right. If you take 6 weeks of a random NFL season, right, or a random season.
Yeah.
And we're used to throwing out TV numbers for World Cup, international, global, and that's how, it's 4 times the amount of people watch the World Cup final more than the Super Bowl. But now, like, we don't even have to talk in global terms after what happened with and imagine if the U.S., this is with the U.S. getting to the round of 16. Imagine if they would have made a deeper run. I mean, it could have reached Super Bowl numbers.
But is there not a version of that you could say maybe there's something even more powerful behind the fact that the numbers it achieved without the U.S.?
That is significant also. The final, for example.
Yeah, because I think it does demonstrate, this is something you and I talked about before the tournament, which is how much of the U.S.'s success in the tournament is going to be some sort of indicator of the sport's popularity in this country. And I think, I was like, I don't think it really does.
Yeah.
And this proved out.
I just think it shows because, soccer now will not continue to have these same numbers now that it's not World Cup. And we do have to differentiate the two things.
Yes.
The World Cup is extremely popular in the U.S. Soccer, maybe not necessarily so. I mean, it's got a niche and it's growing and it's where it is now compared to where it was 30 years ago. It's blown our expectations. So I'm not denying soccer the growth it has had. But let's put things in perspective. This was about World Cup, the event World Cup, just like the Olympics. It's not people are like big fans of track and field and what are figure skating and but they're fans of the Olympics. I think people are big fans of the World Cup, and now that this one took place here, and a lot of people in the U.S. were able to experience it firsthand, like in flesh and blood, right, as they say. I think it took on an added level of interest. And this is why we are where we are with the numbers.
If this exact same World Cup had taken place in Australia, for example, but used the same start times the whole bit, I don't think it plays out the same way.
Exactly.
The fact that it was here was the big driver. And by the way, by market, Dallas performed really well. Top 5?
Yeah, it was 5th. But we
kick around effect.
We know what. Yeah,
totally,
of course. Yeah.
Totally kick around effect.
So that blew me away, right? And I think it blew everybody away, how many people were watching on TV. But other like the attendances and how things were organized and really how it all played out did not at least surprise you and I.
No, I think I think the thing that caught us off guard was how good the tournament from a game-by-game level was. Like, I don't think we were anticipating this level of drama, this level of quality of play. All of those things just continued to feed this weird momentum monster.
We had reservations because of the 48-team format, and we thought, okay,
Yes.
the minnow factor is maybe going to hamper things a little bit. But no, it turned out to be, from a competitive point of view, a very entertaining World Cup. Lots of goals. I think per game average, highest since 1958, something like that.
We got World Cup After Dark.
Yes, those games were insane. Good storylines. Some minnows doing well, others not so well. But, and at the end of the day, the traditional powers doing what they do. And, that we always talk about depth, and that all played out. From the competitive point of view, it played out a little bit. The script we give people, or we tell people about, like, this is how the World Cup plays out. Mm-hmm. It almost played out to a T.
It did. 100%, with the exception of a couple of whoa, I wasn't anticipating that. But
what? Like what?
Well, maybe what would be the one off?
Because there are superpowers that bow out early, and then there are minnows that go a little farther.
I think the number one thing was the fact that the stars were performing like stars in bulk.
Collectively,
so,
yes.
Like we didn't have one superstar just banging goals. They all were playing really well.
Yeah.
Like the golden ball race was like a legitimate thing, with all the names that you would anticipate.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight of this World Cup. And then Spain versus France and the 1 and 2 team, and who was going to win it. And France had the sexy firepower, and that's where I gravitated. They're so fun to watch, but at the end of the day, the team that won was the most balanced, best depth, most organized, top to bottom team in the tournament.
Yeah, and it was
this is what happens.
And it was the one without a legitimate established superstar.
Yeah.
You mean Lamal is obviously a superstar,
came in hurt,
but he's a kid,
mm-hmm.
right? So he's still got his own thing going on. It's not like Kane or Mbappe or something like that. So that is interesting.
And let's talk about the attendances, because the high ticket, the dynamic pricing, which led to high ticket pricing. I think there was a lot of fear about, our stadium's going to be half empty. And what you and I were saying was, look, this is going to work out. Stadiums are going to be full. The pricing might go up and down. We don't know where that's going to go, right? Because if there's not a lot of demand, pricing is going to go down, and then people will buy those. At the end of the day, the stadiums are still going to have a lot of people in them, and that played out.
Yes.
That was true. The pricing stayed probably higher than I think what you and I expected.
Yeah, well, when the game in Houston that I kept promising everybody they would be able to get into for under $100 turned out not to be that.
Yeah.
For Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia,
right,
turned out to be like an entry price of $375 or something. That was unexpected. Yeah. But I also think it, again, drives home the excitement level of, I want to go to a World Cup game, period, the end.
You know what was key? Those first few games, that first week, the word of mouth, what people were saying about, wow, going to a game, a World Cup game is different than another soccer game, than an NFL game, that whatever, basketball game. It's just different. And that just made people want to pay a little bit more to go.
I do believe one of the biggest kick-ons that took place, let's just use DFW as the best example, was the Dutch showing up literally almost on day one here in Dallas and doing that thing with the bus and the thousands of people filling a street and jumping up and down and doing that very Dutch thing that is so cool. I think that completely caught everybody. What's this? What am I missing?
Even though we were warning people, right, Peter?
Yes, and then it was followed up by the Japanese fans and the Argentinian fans and all and all of that just kept happening and happening. And I think that really propelled and drove a lot of the interest too.
What was one thing we would say about when you're in the building, the energy you feel in a World Cup game is different. It's hard to explain, but it's something to do with everybody inside knows they're there to witness something special. Every World Cup game is historic. It is. I mean, there are only a few of these that have been played in the last 100 years, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody in that building feeds off that energy and provides that energy, and that's why it's so special. And that's one thing we said, this is going to be what it's like, and it boom.
100%.
Yeah.
And I do think, like, sport for a lot of people is a family thing, parents passing it on to their kids, but this is different. So, getting to experience a World Cup game with your loved ones is different than going to another Dallas Cowboy game or a Ranger game or whatever, which you do all the time every season.
Yeah.
This may only happen to you once in your lifetime if you're lucky twice. And I think that's a part of the vibe that is going on. It also, I think, in big part, why it's such a friendly environment, despite the fact that you've got two teams facing off against each other.
Everybody's happy to be there, right?
Yeah, you kept using the word happy, and it just seems so simple, but you're
right.
so right.
Very Mayberry.
Yes, but everybody was just happy, and that was a big part of the fun.
Yeah, the family thing, obviously, for me is special, too. My grandfather went to the Croatia match in 62 and the World Cup in 62, and to be able to now 3 generations later do the same, that's exactly what you're talking about. That 100%. Kind of connection.
Yeah. Or all the stories of guys that I play with or people that I know who went to games in 94 here in Dallas, and that was a big part of their youth and growing up and falling in love with the game, all like, dude, I don't care what this costs. I got to pass that on to my kid.
Yeah.
And I'd never even thought about that. I'm not a parent, so that point of view never came to me until they started telling me about it. And I heard it so many times, and it was really, really great. I miss it.
Yeah.
It did not fly by.
No. What I will say this. The reason it's great is because it's limited. It's once every 4 years, limited amount of games, 1 month, and it's gone. So those of us saying, I wish it kept, no. This is what makes it special. It's those few days after when there are no games where you're longing for more games. This is why it's special, because we don't overdo it.
Yeah.
FIFA, no 64-game World Cup, please.
It's coming. You know it is.
One last shout out to because this is the last wrap up segment on World Cup, is to our community, our region, North Texas. Yes, the organizing committee, bang up job, but really I do mean this. Our community embraced it. They took on the hospitality role. The people that were involved in transportation embraced the assignment and the responsibility. First responders knew what was coming and embraced that responsibility. The stadium staff, just top to bottom, and the citizens that welcomed all these people that came from abroad. Not all of them got to go to games, both locally and those that came from abroad. A lot of them just went and experienced their national team playing here, but at a bar or at Texas Live or at the Fan Festival. Bang up job, top to bottom. Media, Fox 4, right? Being with the Fox 4 peeps.
Yeah.
Telemundo, local, all of it. Bang up job. So congrats to us. High five, everybody. Really, really proud of what we did as a community.
You hit it on the head, my dear friend Andy. All right, we promise that's all the World Cup talk. We just wanted to do a little bit more. But what we will talk about next, the U.S. men's national team. Oh, we got some thoughts next on World Cup Kick-Around. Well, while you weren't looking, Major League Soccer decided to kick its season back off last week. The second half of the current season, as crazy as that sound. We'll talk a little bit about that and some other things happening here in the local Dallas scene a little bit later in the show. Welcome back to the Kick-Around. It's just me and Andy. Lars is somewhere in Norway, hanging out with an elk or something like that. I'm not sure. Showing everybody his hat.
Send us a signal, Lars.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Lars. We assume that
he's like, out of here. It's like, okay.
I'm so done with those two guys. All right. So, U.S. men's national team, in the aftermath of all of this, I think the number one thing that's the number one talking point or concern or headline is the status of Pochettino. Now, I was of the impression, based on something he said more than a week ago, they were going to come to a decision, or he was going to come to a decision on staying or going, and he was going to make that announcement this past week, and we heard nothing. At least I didn't see anything. Did you?
No, not at all. That would have been
So is that
splash.
a good sign or a bad sign, Mr. Soccer Business?
Man, I don't know. I guess it depends also. Do you want Pochettino to come back or not? Should he return? I don't know if we ever talked about this. You and I, we opined
We
about
did a
this.
little bit. I think Lars expressed his opinion more than anything else. What do you think?
Lars said it was good, right, that he would come back. At first, I'm like, man, second cycle coaches generally don't work out. But you pointed out to me that He came in really late in the last cycle, so
I'm not even sure he was here for a full half cycle.
Yeah, right. So I don't think it would be bad. I mean, I kind of like his personality. I think the players enjoyed playing for him, and he instilled a certain amount of confidence in the players. That those first couple games in the World Cup, they played with some swagger and confidence that we haven't seen in a game like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Belgian game, a one-off for whatever reason, they weren't there that game. So I wouldn't mind if he comes back. I don't think it's the end of the world if he didn't. So I don't think ultimately it's about the head coach of the national team. I mean, if we're looking long-term and how does the U.S., go further in World Cups, it's not about just about the coach. A lot of other things that factor in.
A coach can have a big impact on all the other stuff that actually is the driver of that.
That's an interesting point because I think some coaches have turned down the opportunity to coach the national team, coaches with skin on the walls, because they wanted more say in that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were basically told, no, you can't have as much say as you want. Bielsa was one of them. Bielsa, a long time ago, like 10, 12 years ago, Bielsa.
Well, that was part of the whole Klinsmann thing, too.
Also.
Was that he wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, he was already in and then was thrown out because.
He had other issues. But yeah. But, you look at somebody like Klinsmann and you look at somebody like Pochettino, both come from the same kind of background about what players need to do, how training needs to go, how you should take care of yourself, and what you should eat. And both approached it with the players in a different way. One was more like a mentor, counselor, teacher, and one was more like a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Klinsmann, who if you didn't do it his way, you were done. He didn't even want to talk to you. I think Pochettino approaches it a little bit different. And I think the American player, the culture, the sporting and professional culture around American players is that they don't want to be told what to do. They can be coached and influenced, but they don't want to be right out told, you have to eat this the night before. They don't care for that.
Probably not. But I do think Pochettino came a long way in resolving the thing that I think alarmed him the most when he got here, which was, wait a second, they don't care about this the way that I think you're supposed to.
But he picked his battles, too.
But he did, yeah. But he got Weston McKennie to play, stop worrying about coming to play golf.
But this is an excellent example. He got Weston to change by doing it in a different way than Klinsmann would have tried to get Weston to change. And I think Pochettino might have been more successful, as we saw.
Yeah, Klinsmann probably doesn't call Weston up. Like, he just stops calling him.
Yeah, and doesn't tell him why or whatever.
Right, yeah. So that's interesting. When we talk about whether or not he's going to come back or not, my immediate reaction is, well, if he doesn't, who takes that job? And I don't have a very clear answer to that.
Probably. I think the front runner would be the German-influenced American coach who was at LAFC.
Cherundolo?
Yeah, Cherundolo. Thank you. Who's back in Germany. I think he's pretty high up on the list right now with U.S. soccer.
I wonder if B.J. Cunningham, the guy that's in Nashville that ran the team between Berhalter, would. But
he had spells, right? Like short interim spells?
Yeah, he was the interim after when Berhalter was in that interphase.
Yeah.
And I think that's his. Anyway, so I don't know. Do they go out and try to get another? Because there's a whole component of this story, which is, wait a second, you went out and spent all this money. You went out and got somebody to help donate money to get in a known entity, and you're going to tell me you're going to go to Steve Cherundolo?
Yeah, who's not a bad coach.
No, but it's the whole optics of it.
I think Cherundolo, though, is a good candidate because he is a balance between the American player and understanding the American mentality when it comes to being a national team player and what that takes, and the European influence and background he has because he spent so much time in Germany learning to play the game and coach the game. I think he's a good balance there.
And he also checks the box of no team has won the World Cup with a foreign manager.
Got to get past the round of 16 first. But and I think a lot of people look at like, oh man, we're just not very good because we can't get past the round of 16. And I think there needs to be a little bit of a reality check there.
Well, how much time have you and I spent over the years just trying to explain to people that the World Cup is hard?
Yeah.
There's a reason why only an X number of teams have not just won the World Cup, but just gotten to the semifinals.
So let's take all the World Cups played in this century, or if you want the last 5, whatever measure. Who has reached the round of 16 more times in a World Cup? The U.S. or Japan?
I know the answer.
The answer is the U.S.
Yeah.
More than Uruguay, more than Denmark, more than Colombia, more than Belgium, the round of 16. It means getting out of your group and at least playing in the round of 16. Those are all legit. We compared Japan because Japan kind of started being a soccer nation when the U.S. did, and so we've kind of like been comparing Japan to the U.S. and their leagues and how they've developed in soccer. But Denmark, Colombia, Belgium, Uruguay, those are legit soccer countries. Italy hasn't qualified for the last 3. I know they're qualifying out of Europe, but prior to those 3 World Cups, they didn't get out of the group stage the 2 World Cups prior to that. I know they won in 2006, so this is a country that has won it. I'm not trying to say that, Italy is just as good as you or U.S. as good as Italy, but...
No, but it's been a full generation since Italy did anything in a World Cup.
It just put things into context. It's not easy to get out of your group in World Cup, and the U.S. tends to do it every World Cup they play in this century. Maybe 2006 was the one exception. Germany, after they won in 2014, hasn't gotten out of their group. They did now, but they lost in the round of 32. It's hard. World Cup is hard. So the fact that you can't get past that round of 16 doesn't mean that you suck at soccer.
Right.
You just still have work to do, like all these other soccer nations that I just named.
Yeah, and I certainly think that based on many of the things that we saw, especially, and again, I will never forget that first game against Paraguay, and even the game against Australia and the game against Bosnia, for different reasons. Like, each of those games to me are important in the improvement and quality of the national team in different ways. Paraguay game, obviously, because it was such a free-flowing, taking advantage of what was given of them kind of attack, which I've never seen that with this team happen before.
Confidence and swagger.
Yes. Australia, just different because they didn't have Pulisic, and so they kind of changed, and we saw something different happen with that against an incredibly physical team and an amazing environment in Seattle. That was great. And then, obviously, the Turkey game is its own thing, but then the Bosnia game, because they had to battle so hard to overcome the fact they were down a guy. And then the Malik Tillman free kick, which blew everybody's brains. So those, I think, are such significant improvements that we just look forward to what is coming up next. Now, the problem is the next big thing happening in the national team program is 333 days away. It's the Women's World Cup in Brazil. That's less than a year away, and that's the next big program event that's going to happen. We won't see the U.S. men's national team again until I think there's some friendlies scheduled later that will officially be scheduled later for this year.
And when does Nations League start for the U.S.?
I don't think until 27. Okay. Now, remember, this is the year where they've compressed is it October, November international windows into
They've
one?
eliminated a window, right?
They've eliminated, but then they extended the next one. So now I think instead of there being 2 games in the window, I think there's going to be 3.
Yeah, September 21st to October 6th, and then November 9th to November 17th. So they're just extended. I think they play in November. That's the Nations League quarterfinals.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. It's not on their calendar, but I'm sure it'll get announced. That'll be the next thing. Yeah. So if they're going to change a manager, they need to figure it out quickly.
Yeah.
So they can get that sorted out. What I'm hopeful for is that because the thing that I don't know if everybody's paid attention to this, because the national team in its own weird way, believe it or not, is in a bit of the beginning stages of a transition, because whether we like it or not, Pulisic, Weston, Tyler, there's another 2 or 3 in this group that I'm not thinking of. They're going to be over the age of 30 by the time the next World Cup comes.
McKinney? No. He's younger, right?
No, I think Weston.
Weston also?
Yeah, I think Weston will be 30 or 31 by the time the next World Cup comes. And so, obviously Tim Ream will be like somebody's grandfather at that point. And now I don't think that's all necessarily a bad deal, because I'm a big believer that there is follow-up generations on the way that are of a whole other level of quality, and in the next few years will have all their own experiences. I don't know if the 2030 team is technically going to be, we won't know.
Who's the next U.S. national team star? Who is young and, is it Ricardo Pepi? He's that age.
I think the seeds of it are what we saw in the team this year. I think Alex Freeman can be a tremendous star in this team. I think Chris Richards can be a big star for the future. We still didn't get to see Tanner Tessman, who will be in his late, I think he'll be 27 or 28 by the next one. Kevin Sullivan, the kid out of Philly, who's going to end up going to Man City, he'll be old enough to be considered for the World Cup by that time. Is that somebody we start taking into consideration?
So is 2030 a transition year?
That's what I'm saying. Is that that we're gonna, the next World Cup is going to be interesting from the fact that we're going to be moving on from a lot of these guys, but that doesn't mean it's a bleak outlook. There's a lot of really interesting stuff coming from up from behind, and a lot of these kids, which we'll get into in the next segment, are all kids that have come up through some sort of professional organized system, whether it be here in the United States or somewhere else in the world. And now we're really starting to get into this second, third generation of kids that have grown up in these professional systems.
Yeah, that hasn't happened ever, that the bulk of the players on the national team have come up that way.
Yes. And all I would say is that we get into the Gold Cup, Nations League, whatever other tournaments the U.S. gets invited to before you get to 2030, along with whatever qualification process that does or does not look like, because we don't even know what qualification for 2030 is going to be at this point, because they still have to tell us how many teams are going to be in it. It's going to be different, and I have no idea if it's going to be better or worse at this point, but it will be different.
Yeah. They'll qualify for the World Cup because even if it...
I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, they will.
And so I don't know if that's good for development, though. And that goes right back to, as part of the issue that, CONCACAF just doesn't have the level of competition that CONMEBOL and UEFA have. And so when you get to the World Cup and you get to that round of 16, then you meet...
Yeah. That's what puts on the onus.
Because Mexico also, same predicament.
Same problem.
They've been doing this a lot longer, right?
But Mexico's problem is all of their best players are still playing in Mexico. Yeah. That's what, if you talk to Mexican fans, that's their big angst, is that the U.S. is beating them at kids playing in Europe.
But the point I'm trying to make about Mexico is they've been doing this for a lot longer.
Yes.
And they still can't get over that hump. And all these other teams that I named.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep. All right. We'll keep everybody posted because next it does leak into the thing that we talked about. And we talked about a little bit a few weeks ago, which is the youth development system, where all of that is. And some really interesting articles and thoughts have been expressed about it. And Andy and I would like to talk about that. We'll do it next year on the KickAround. Okay. All right, welcome back. Just the plain old KickAround. The old logo's back. Maybe we should switch to a non-World Cup version of the new logo. I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about that some other day. I had to change the website language, all that stuff. That was sad.
Did it make you sad?
It did make me sad. I left the picture of the three of us up, though.
Yeah, because we were born. The genesis of the KickAround was World Cup.
100%.
2014.
When we did the original first World Cup KickAround back in 2014, we got done with the tournament, and we thought, we'll do this again in 4 years. Yeah. And then a few months later, they called and said, hey, would you guys like to do this every weekend? Should we go back to the once every 4 years and be like the World Cup itself?
It would make our shows more special. Less is more sometimes. Something to think about.
Will either one of us be alive in 2030? Who knows? All right. Now, on the heels of having a conversation about the U.S. men's national team, continues the never-ending battle that surrounds the youth development system. And we tried to talk about this the other day during the World Cup, but it was a very fractured conversation.
Peter, I have something to tell you.
What?
The solution is this. If the LeBron James played soccer, the U.S. would win the World Cup every time. So there's two arguments there that I hear. If the LeBron Jameses played soccer, we would always win the World Cup. And we don't win the World Cup because the LeBron Jameses don't play soccer. Two different things. Let me answer each one independently. If the LeBron Jameses played soccer, no, you wouldn't win the World Cup every year until development got to a certain level where they would develop into good, proper, professional, high-quality soccer players, because it's not just putting an athlete and putting soccer boots on and then automatically he's great at soccer, right?
Right.
The other argument is if the LeBron Jameses played soccer, then we could win the world. We would, the reason we don't win World Cups is because the best athletes don't play soccer.
Right.
There's so many athletes in this country that, like, there's 350 million people. Even if you narrowed it down to those athletes that chose to play soccer, you can still win the World Cup. It just takes proper development,
yes,
right?
100%. Yes.
So,
I mean, go look at the Argentinian national team and tell me, what American-sized athletes are running around and filling up that thing.
It's not just about that.
By the way, it's very funny you're bringing that up, because literally an hour before the show, I'm eating a sandwich, and somebody have you seen the video of Victor Wembanyama out on a pickup field in Houston?
No, I haven't seen this.
Okay, so Wemby is, by all accounts, a world-class athlete, a freak of nature. Mm-hmm. He grew up in France playing soccer. Yeah. He loves soccer. Mm-hmm. He's terrible at soccer. Right. I mean, because he's just not physically built for it.
Right.
And there's a whole litany of, athletes out there that are just not wired for the game. And so I understand the intention of the argument, but man, I am so tired of hearing that thrown at me all the time, because it doesn't take much actual thought and kind of like thought process to understand why that just doesn't hold true. But the biggest one is just the pure pool, the ocean of potential athletes that we have as a country is just too great to try to narrow it down to some sort of select few that end up becoming professional basketball, football, or baseball players.
And I would argue that even if more of the super athletes didn't become soccer, and we just went with what we had now, the potential is there to one day do really well internationally, really well, getting to the semis, getting to a final, win the World Cup. But it takes a long time in developing your development apparatus, right?
Yes.
And so we're just not there yet.
No, and that's the big message you and I are aligned on. And I'm really glad, because in the last 10 days or so, finally, enough people who are being pragmatic about this conversation, and they're not just doom and gloom and pay for play is killing everything and keeping us from winning a World Cup kind of level of thinking, have all started to come out with some really smart stuff. Matt Doyle, who everybody knows from his time with MLS and everything, now is doing stuff independently. And he wrote something on his Substack the other day, which leaned into something somebody anonymously had posted on Reddit. Now, normally I wouldn't lean on Reddit for any of this kind of stuff, but this was actually wildly one of the smartest things and best distillations of the current kind of like, hey, this is what's really going on in American youth structure. And it wasn't saying that it's not broken. What it was saying is it's not as bad as you think it is, especially when you begin to try to compare it to how England does it, or even more specifically France. Because I think we can all agree right now, France is the place that's just like...
France is it.
It's a factory. Yeah. It's just doing it.
And Spain to a certain extent.
Yeah. And so the point that the guy was trying to make was that in France, there is a limited number of these academies. It's not like there may be 12,000 clubs in France, but there's like less than 100 of their actual academies that are producing world class talent. And the thing that you and I were trying to communicate a couple of weeks ago is, we've had a top tier league for only 30 years. And of that 30 years, maybe 10 of it, the last 10 of it, has had some sort of actual structured academy system. We're still in our infancy at this.
We're in diapers when it comes to raising, quote, raising players in a professional academy environment. We are in diapers. Less than 20 years, closer to 10 to 12, where all the teams in MLS have actually engaged in that. And so there's no magic bullet. You got to do a lot of things right. One of those is you have to have your professional league and their teams have legit professional academies, and that only has happened over the last 10, 12 years, like you said. The other thing is the geographic expanse of this country. It's just so big. There are only a certain amount of MLS teams that have these professional academies, but if you're growing up in Topeka, Kansas, you don't necessarily have access to that professional academy development program, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that not dilemma, but there's that difficulty in finding all the talent in your country as well, because MLS teams are not everywhere. They try to be everywhere. They send scouts to those places they don't play in, regions they don't play in, but it's still hard. But even with that being said, just in the geographic locations where MLS teams are situated, that is enough to one day get to the point where I think we want to go. It just takes time. And like you said, when we were talking about the national team, we are just getting just now. It's not this generation playing now. It's the next generation.
Yes.
We are just getting to the generation where they grew up playing soccer in an academy environment top to bottom, from when they were very young till they're older. Now, we can look. Not all academies are run the same way. Not all academies approach things the right way. So all that can improve. Whether we place too much emphasis on winning at age 10 and 12, there's a lot of truth to that. Not all countries do that. Some countries don't care how a team performs when a player is 10 or 12. They just want to see development, not wins and losses. We probably should improve there. But I will argue that for academies like FC Dallas, because they're one of the best, Philadelphia and others, they're not thinking it's really important to win a trophy at under 10. They're thinking it's more important to develop players, like when they get to 14, 15, 16, that they're in a certain place before they really start thinking about winning.
Yeah. A former professional player here in the States, Andrew Carlton, has been posting online, and obviously he's a guy that has been through the system. At one point, Andrew was on the Guardian's top 100 youth players in the world at one point, and he went on to have an okay career. He didn't, whatever, but he's been through the system. He understands it, and he makes an extremely good point, which is, it's all about when kids start playing. We don't have enough kids playing like they do in other countries when they're 4 and 5.
But enjoying it.
And enjoying it, not with heavy, training and sprinting. It's just kids going out in the street and playing at those younger ages. Yeah. And he said pay to play is not necessarily the problem, because it doesn't make any difference if you do or don't have pay to play. If their kids aren't doing it when they're 4 and 5 at scale, it doesn't make any difference if the next tier is free or not, because they're never going to, because he's talking about specifically creating world-class players, kids that become the top 5 to 10 of their position in the sport across the globe. And that's what the United States, but his really good and salient point is going to get into the thing that we'll talk about here next, which is Major League Soccer or any top-tier league, which is it's the fundamental problem of trying to put a product out on the field. And I think FC Dallas has wrestled with this greatly in its existence, because that is an organization that has been good at growing talent, yet gets stuck in the middle of, well, wait a second. If we play all the kids, we're probably not going to be super competitive at this thing that we're trying to win. And what is the balance in that? And his point is the reason why the U.S. is probably going to really struggle in developing world-class talent is because, unlike other countries, our domestic league or leagues aren't structured to allow themselves to play these kids and give them those experiences at scale. And I think that's a really, really good point.
Yeah, and is that because their expectations, like in other countries, if your team is known for developing players and they're mid-table, forevermore, the community and the fans and supporters of that team embrace that, and it's okay that they don't win
Yeah.
the league title. But here it's different in our sports culture.
Go look in Ecuador, Argentina,
Yeah.
Chile,
Yeah.
Brazil.
Yeah.
All of those clubs up and down the line all have kids playing in their senior team.
Yeah.
That's how it works. A question came up on Twitter about this, Andy, that you may know the answer to. He's like, well, my perception is that I see all these South American kids playing over in Europe, which is going to relate back to the story we're going to talk about with Benji Flowers here in a second. What is that part in that in terms of development of, because kids can't sign professional contracts until they're 18. But then we have the story of like Messi, who ends up in Spain when he's a kid.
Because his parents moved.
That's the difference.
Yeah, his parents moved.
There's a whole part of this where you have to pick up and relocate.
Yeah, your parents have to move and be willing to relocate. I do want to address the pay-to-play thing, too, because pay-to-play exists to a certain extent in all countries, soccer countries. Coaches still have to earn a living. Nobody's coaching for free, right? Coaches are professionals, just like bankers and gas station attendants and dentists. You have to earn a living. It's just who pays the coach is the difference. And this is where the MLS academies, they're really not pay to play. The very high-end teams on these MLS academies, the coaches are being paid by the club.
Yes.
There's just not a lot of, because we are such a big country geographically, there's only a certain amount of clubs that get to do that. And that's where I go back to cities that don't have MLS clubs. They have academies. They're not necessarily professional academies. They have good high-end academies, but their coaches are paid by the parents, and that's the difference.
Yeah, the article that Doyle referenced actually makes this very good point. He writes, and I'm going to quote this, France has about 12,000 clubs, but less than 40 accredited pro training centers.
Yeah.
So think about that. MLS, we already have 30 of those in the United States across Major League Soccer. Now, for better or worse, I understand that people have their own opinions about MLS, but those are paid. You're not paying to play in those academy systems.
Yeah.
All those kids on any of those academy teams across MLS are playing for free.
Yeah, the high end, the academy teams.
Yes, 100%. And many of the pay-for-pay clubs have scholarship programs in place for. Not that it's a perfect system, and it's absolutely broken. But again, I just don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks it is.
Yeah, no. I just give it time.
Yeah, time.
We talk about how soccer is so new in this country compared to other countries that have been playing it for 100, 150 years. If you look at development, it's even more in its infancy than soccer being played here. I mean, it's. But 10 to 20 years old.
But I would argue that the acceleration of talent in this country will exceed the speed at which the professional game has grown here with Major League Soccer. Like, I think now how quickly we begin to grow and sell talent all over the world is going to start happening exponentially faster.
The selling, sure.
Yeah.
The other part of development is coaching as well. And you develop players, but you also develop coaches. And that has to catch up, too, because without good coaching – you don't develop great players, right?
Yep. All right, there you go. We'll take a break. When we come back, Major League Soccer says, hey, guys, we'll take it from here. Do we want them to? Next on the KickAround. Life is better on a bike, Andy. When was the last time you rode a bike?
Vacation every once in a while. We'll ride bikes.
Big beach bike?
We have bikes, too, to ride around the lake. We live near the lake.
You have a unicycle, don't you? Or you have one of those giant front wheel bikes?
No, no, they sit in the garage. Do you know, like, how do you feel about those people that bike, but they're, like, helped with the motor? I think that's fake biking.
I see the kids riding around on their electric motorized bikes, and I think that looks fun, but that also looks like cheating.
Yeah.
100%. Welcome back to the KickAround. We are talking all kinds of just general, how would you describe the topics of today?
Potpourri of general soccer topics not involving club talk.
So last week, on the heels of the World Cup ending, Major League Soccer kicked off the second half of its 2026 season. Remember, and this is where I get really frustrated with the league that I've been watching since day one, and Andy was literally part of its construction 30 32 years ago, 33 years ago. How many years ago?
30.
Plus.
96, right?
Well, it launched in 96.
Oh, yeah. 30 plus.
Yeah, 30 plus.
Yeah.
And, they reportedly spent over $10 million for this Thanks World We'll Take It From Here campaign.
Yeah. Well, you got to leverage the fact that the World Cup was here, right?
Well, it was funny to me. There was a lot of criticism. Wait, we've been through 5 weeks of the World Cup, and there has been no mention of Major League Soccer. What's going on? They've completely dropped the ball. Then, strategically, they decide we're going to do all of this at the very end of the tournament as you lead out of the tournament. And then they got criticized for doing that.
Yeah, they can't win.
No,
right?
They can't. I get it. It's a subjective issue. You may like the campaign. You may not like the campaign. That's really up for an individual deal. I think if I wanted to be critical of anything, it's that I am frustrated because I was listening to an interview with Don Garber yesterday, and he was being very defensive and adamant that they had the path in which they've decided to capitalize on the World Cup was the right thing. Like, they think they've done this the right way.
Which is what?
Well, I'm frustrated by the fact that their decision to move the calendar to the European calendar, which now won't happen. I mean, we're starting the second half of a season because they got bifurcated by the World Cup, which means
That's a big word.
Which means essentially MLS now will play 3 mini seasons in a row before they then take a break next summer and then decide to move to a full...
Yeah. That's less than ideal, but I don't think everybody on the inside wanted to do it that way. Just some owners had cold feet, and they had to convince those owners, and this is why we're here.
Yes, but I think that's a problem. I think not being able to start now with a brand new season, along with the Premier League, Bundesliga, and everything else, I think that is... to me, considering all the runway they had to do that, seems like a failure on my part.
Yeah, I don't know. You can also say that next year they'll launch this thing without the World Cup behind them, and it's their own thing, and there's more attention being paid to that because it's not off the heels of the World Cup. I mean, does the league also suffer from a little bit of? I know you're trying to leverage the World Cup being played, but does it also suffer a little bit of man, we just enjoyed the World Cup. Now we got to, I don't know.
Major League Soccer.
Yeah, like all leagues, not just MLS. Now, the numbers were really healthy attendance-wise, right? I mean,
for what?
For MLS games being played right after the World Cup.
I haven't really looked at those.
I think they did really well attendance-wise.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's the issue with MLS. MLS, I think, for the most part, has really had healthy attendances.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's TV.
It's TV. And I just don't know. I don't know how that will ultimately be solved. Maybe it's just improving little by little the product on the field, I guess. I don't know, because some people will always be the snobby, like, if it's not European soccer, I'm not going to watch it, which is, I think, silly. You can watch both. You can enjoy both. You can support your local club and also appreciate that the EPL is a really good league, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some people refuse to look at it that way. It's one or the other.
There's different types of fans. There are people who are like, oh, my gosh, this World Cup was great. I got to go pick a team. And they just immediately gravitate. Do they gravitate to their local club? Maybe, probably not. What they probably do is gravitate to the thing that...
Okay, but everything you felt by either being at the game or like the feeling of... You can enjoy that here locally more than you can by watching TV and seeing a game 3,000 miles away.
Quick story. So in the last week, 3 separate times, and the last one being literally this morning, when I was at all places, a record show this morning.
Okay. A record show?
A record show. A show for vinyl records. There's a show.
Just
you go and buy records.
Making sure.
Up in Grapevine.
Making sure you meant show, not store.
Right.
Yeah.
A show.
Okay.
And this also coincides with a conversation I overheard at a restaurant, and the third one being an email that was sent to the Hardline for their helpline segment, which was all around the idea of Erling Haaland.
Yeah.
And every single one of the conversations was, that guy is amazing. Like, literally at this record show, I'm standing there flipping through records, and there's 2 guys behind me going, dude, did you see that thing where he left off the plane with the stuffed raccoon? How awesome was that? And he was wearing the cowboy boots. And, man, I think I like that. I'm going to start watching him. How do I watch it? And they're literally asking this to each other. And the guy goes, well, he plays for this team called Manchester City, and you can watch it on, I think it's on Peacock or something. He's like, man, I got to check that out. Email to Bob and Corby. Hey, I'm not really into the game, but I really enjoyed the tournament, and man, I really love this Erling Haaland guy. Yeah. But I find out he plays for this team called City, and it turns out that they're like the best team in the world, and I feel like a bandwagoner.
Yeah.
Does that make me cheap if I just decide to follow them?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So. But how does that tie back into how does MLS raise their TV numbers?
Oh, because I think that's fundamentally MLS's problem and any league's problem here in the United States.
But okay, question: if Erling Haaland came here, would TV numbers go bonkers?
Yes,
for his games.
But I
just
think,
like they did for Messi games.
But I think Messi had a knock-on effect too. I mean, the Messi effect, I don't think we've fully digested yet, and we won't. I mean, part of the fundamental problem we have with Major League Soccer is its Apple TV deal, because so much of the thing that we're all curious about is hidden behind Apple's walls. MLS would love to tell everybody what the streaming numbers are. I know they would. But MLS does. I mean, Apple doesn't do that. They don't do it for Ted Lasso. They don't do it for Severance. They just don't do it. And so they're not going to do it for MLS either. And so the other day I saw, USL kicked off their championship season last week, and there was a game on CBS or Paramount Plus, and they were very proud of the fact that it had 436,000 viewers. And they're like, wow, that's only like 20% less than MLS this time. It's like, well, that's only 20% less than the MLS games that were on Fox.
Yeah, right.
You're not counting all the Apple numbers, too.
And you think those streaming numbers are high and good?
I think they're solid.
They're solid,
I think there is a good – because I am convinced that if they sucked as bad as so many people want them to suck, Apple would have kicked this thing out a while ago.
Because we know that the future of this league, and I'm not going to say the sport in our country, but – a lot of it depends on MLS doing well, is about the next TV contract.
100%.
And so you and I and others that want the league to succeed really have a vested interest in TV numbers doing well and going up. And how do we crack that nut? Because that's been the one area that's been really difficult for the league, despite high attendance numbers. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because Topeka, Kansas doesn't have a MLS team. There are only 30 markets that have a team. Is that how many we're up to? 30?
Yeah, 30, yeah.
And so, we have a hard time getting national numbers that are big because of that issue. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just wish,
Well, okay, so this gets into the thing that I think is really the problem that has plagued this league forever, and this goes all the way back to 96, which was, well, wait a second, it's just a retirement league. You've got Hugo Sanchez in Dallas, and you got Lothar Matthäus playing in New York, and you got El Pibe in Tampa, and all these old guys. They're great, but they're all retiring. Yeah. And so now here we are, and you got Messi, who's 39, playing in Miami, attracting Casemiro, right? Who, I love Casemiro. In fact, I just got one of his Manchester United jerseys. But
I think the difference...
Or Lewandowski in Chicago.
Yeah, we do keep signing those guys, and those are important as long as they don't look at it as a retirement league. But I think the difference now is that it's balanced with younger guys that are being signed too.
It is, but I think that's fundamentally the problem of the contract structure. I mean, what really drives people nuts who are interested in the league is the Byzantine rules around how rosters are developed. Now, there is a lot of word coming that in the next year or so, MLS is going to dramatically change how they go about their business of roster rules and specifically the salary cap. In fact, ESPN has an article either today or yesterday where they're talking to a lot of executives, and one of them, Merritt Paulson, who owns Portland, says, look, this is all coming. Trust me, I'm super excited about this. And the rumor is that the salary cap is going to be jumped as high as $30 million a team, which would be a pretty significant number for in comparison to any league in the world. Because in addition to the $30 million cap, would continue to be some sort of loophole to let you sign Vinny Jr. or Erling Haaland or whatever, so that you could pay above and beyond that. Because at the end of the day, what's going to drive the next big contract is that you've got more
than one Messi.
More than one Messi across the system.
There's only one Messi, but
the
Messi,
Suns,
like 1As, like 4 or 5 1As, right?
100%. Yes. There's a big rumor. Here's an interesting one. There's a rumor running around that Alex Zendejas may come back to FC Dallas from Club America.
Yeah.
Now, I know that probably doesn't ring on a lot of people's radar, but that to me is an amazingly interesting signing. One, because he's killing it down in Liga MX for that club. He's an American player who started at FC Dallas. And that kind of full circle story not only is a good story, but it also makes the team better.
Right. I think that's key, right? Not just the token guy to sell tickets.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but that is a rumor going around.
But Dallas has one of those guys, Peter Musa, who was signed. Not
100%.
a retirement, and he he came here, he tore it up, got called up for the World Cup by his national team, Croatia, scored a goal in the World Cup. I mean, that's
prophecy.
It's a great story. By the way, that reminds me, we didn't do the quiz at the top of the show. We should do it now and give the answer at the end.
Oh,
because
we should.
It's related.
We forgot about that's my fault, isn't it?
So can we do the quiz before we end?
Let's do Andy's quiz. It's not the World Cup quiz, is it?
So Peter Musa, we call him Peter, but Peter Musa scored a goal in the World Cup, became the first player to have to score a goal in a World Cup while playing for the Bern FC Dallas, right? 4 other players that have worn the jersey Bern FC Dallas have scored in the World Cup.
How many?
4 others.
Okay.
They didn't do it while wearing the jersey, like
they
Musa
weren't part
did.
of the club at the time.
Right.
Okay.
But 4 players that have scored in a World Cup have also played for the Bern / FC Dallas. So that's the quiz question. Ooh. I expect Peter to get it right because this is FC Dallas and World Cup related.
Man.
This is the one, and I didn't ask it during World Cup because it wouldn't have been fair for Lars to have to try to guess on this one.
Give me a minute on that one.
Yeah,
I got to cogitate on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. There's Andy's World Cup / local Dallas question. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. Well, anyway, there's all kinds of things going on. So if I said the name to you, Eric Bailly, center back, Eric Bailly, do you remember that name?
Yeah, I remember the name. Why do I?
Tall, Ivory Coast center back that played at Manchester United. Yeah. Was wild, and everybody thought he was going to be a yes.
Yeah, not fairly recently.
He got signed by the Crew. He's playing for the Crew.
Random.
Alan St. Maximin. Remember that guy?
No.
Crazy good dribbly boy that played at Newcastle.
Don't remember.
Used to wear the headband and had the dreads.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
He got signed and is coming, and I think he's going to.
Those aren't retirement league signings.
Well, Eric is 32. I think St. Maximin's 31. I think.
All right.
But those are high-level players.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued with this cap thing. If this is more than
$30 million would be,
that would be legit.
An incredible change.
And is it? They know that USL is coming with a Division 1. Like USL is going to start splashing some money out, right? And
yes.
Is this part of a countermeasure?
Well, the other thing that we'll get into in the next segment, because this week was the big news that Chelsea, yes, that Chelsea that you either love or hate in the Premier League, has cut a deal with your very own football club Dallas for 15-year-old Benji Flowers. You may or probably do not know who that is, but we'll explain it next here on the KickAround. We tried to have him on before the World Cup and during the World Cup, and I tried to get him on today, but he wasn't available. But I can't recommend more highly. Everybody go check out the article from Daniel Story. That is the British soccer journalist who literally drove across the entire United States, almost 8,000 miles.
This is during the World Cup.
During the World Cup, he went to 10 different venues and went to, his estimation, 10% of all the World Cup games.
Wow, that's a lot.
I think his count of number of states he touched is over 30 of the 50 states. It is tremendous, and he put up a thread or an article today for the paper that he works for over in England with 101 things he learned while on this trip. And it is genuine, it is honest, it is sweet, it is funny, it's insightful. And I just can't recommend it more highly, and I look forward to having Daniel on the show sometime to talk about it, because it is the videos. By the way, go find him on Instagram, because he shot a video every other day during this entire 48 days he was over here, something like that, and all of them are fantastic. Yeah.
By the way, if you went to every game played in Dallas, every World Cup game, you would have gone to 9% of the World Cup games in this World Cup. That's something, huh?
So you went to 9%. Did you?
I did. I missed one.
Which one did you miss?
The 6:00 start kickoff, because we had the show.
Because you're dedicated World Cup
right.
kick-arounder.
Sweden, Japan.
Okay. So anyway, Daniel's. I put a link. We put a link to Daniel's story on our Twitter account at the KickAround. Please go read it. It's really, really good. And like I said, hopefully we'll have him on here in the next few weeks or so. All right, we were talking about Major League Soccer, all this stuff, and we stopped by mentioning the big headline this week that Chelsea has cut a deal with FC Dallas for a player I promise 99.9% of you out there have never heard of before. He's 15. In fact, I think he just turned 15 3 months ago. His name is Benji Flowers. Now, Benji is really good. We all know Buzz Carrick, our good friend Buzz, who has been covering FC Dallas at all kinds, all the way down to like the U11s forever. And he knows that club and its youth system inside and out. Benji is the next one that Buzz, like this, Pepe was the one before this that I remember him really hyping. Benji was the next one. And Benji's been playing for their second team, North Texas, by the way.
Yeah, and he's 15.
And he's 15.
Because North Texas is a professional soccer team.
Yes, with the brand new stadium in Mansfield, by the way. If you want to go check out Benji Flowers' future Chelsea product, go to Mansfield and go check out a game at their brand new soccer stadium, which is really nice, by the way. And so the reason why it's a big deal is that it's like a $3 million deal. He signs a homegrown deal with Dallas, which means now he's officially a senior-level team, an MLS player. Whether or not he gets minutes with the team is very much up in the air. He'll probably continue to play for the second team, North Texas. But when he turns 18, in theory, he will pack up his stuff and he will move to London, and Chelsea will do something with him. Whether he gets in their system or they loan him out like Chelsea does is very much up in the air. But it could go up to as much as $10 million depending on his time with the national team and what he ends up doing with FC Dallas.
So for FC Dallas, it would be advantageous if he gets first-team minutes, right? Because that will affect the price.
And this gets really interesting because this is the conversation we were just having. You know, Philly is going through this right now with Kevin Sullivan, who is only 16, by the way. I think he's 16. Who has a very similar kind of deal in place between Philly and Man City. And the more that Philly plays him, the more they benefit as that deal goes on. But it also is predicated on the fact that Kevin Sullivan actually performs for the MLS team, which will be the same thing Eric Quill will be faced with, I assume at some point, with Flowers, with Benji, as he is, you know, they're like, hey, look, Eric, could you please play Benji? Because we need to get him some time to make this deal worth more money. I mean, those are the real things, the problems that they have. I'm not saying those conversations are really happening. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
so what do you do if you are FC Dallas in that regard? I mean, I guess you know.
But this goes back to the problem of this league, which is we're trying to be a business. And so what is our job? Is it to sell tickets? Is it to win championships? Where is the onus? Is it to develop national team players?
The issue is it goes back to our sporting culture again, because if you pay for tickets in the U.S., you want your team to win.
To be competitive.
Yes.
Yes.
And And overseas with a lot of these teams, it's about community and just being a supporter of the team that has been part of your community for 80 years. And you don't necessarily expect them to lift the trophy.
No. But it is interesting that this is happening. And obviously, whenever you have a 15-year-old attached to a Premier League team like Chelsea, who tends to vacuum up these players like this all the time, it does. I mean, every affiliate TV station here in Dallas has done a story about this. They've all interviewed Benji, who's a great kid, but he looks like a middle schooler, you know? And so it is interesting, along with the fact that you have an actual team of, adult players who all are trying to restart their season.
Yeah, and also teammates too. Like if you as a club start injecting these kids and have them play because it affects their sale price, I don't know. If he belongs, he belongs. If he helps you win, he helps you win, and that's not an issue. But if they feel like you're stretching things a little bit, how do they react?
Do you remember back in the day, Shellis Heineman, formerly SMU great, the Hunts talked him in finally to becoming the FC Dallas coach. And I'll never forget the stories we used to hear out of the club that the players were getting annoyed by the fact that Shellis was having his grandson, Emerson Hyman, who was only like 13 or 14 at the time, join in. But Emerson was a really, really good player, ended up playing professionally both here and overseas. But to your point, the senior players were not happy about that.
Yeah, right.
So I think the way FC Dallas has gone about it over the years is different because they let these kids come play with these guys all the time.
Yeah,
I'm sure Benji's been training with them multiple times.
Yeah.
But it is a fascinating and interesting story. And before we go, the other thing that we all have to keep aware of is the fact there are a ton of options for your sports entertainment dollar when it relates to soccer in this market. I put a map up on Twitter a couple of weeks ago for something I wrote for Bob Sturmstack, which was, look, by 2028, you're going to have 9 different professional soccer teams of different levels that would love for you to come buy tickets and come to their games. And that includes the news since we last talked that Dallas Trinity, the women's professional team that plays in the Cotton Bowl, has been acquired by the people that own Atletico Dallas, which hasn't even launched yet.
No. That's an ambitious undertaking, too, by Atletico.
And you've got McKinney Chupacabras, and you've got Vaqueros in Fort Worth, you've got the Diablos in Denton, you've got a team that's coming in Salina here soon that's calling themselves Rodeo Soccer Club. All kinds of things are happening. And then you've got Atletico Dallas, which is this looming thing that's coming to come play in the Cotton Bowl. It feels like 1996 all over again.
Because they're going to play in the Cotton Bowl?
Because they're playing in the Cotton Bowl, and it's a new league, and all this stuff is starting over.
Yeah.
And then over the weekend, they sent out a press release or an email to their mailing list telling everybody that there's a big announcement coming Monday afternoon. Now, I don't know what this is, but they're essentially a year out from starting. They've hired a coach, and Petter Lucen.
Yeah.
Are they going to make some sort of, hey, we're going to build a stadium somewhere?
Man,
now that we've got the two teams underneath one roof?
They're at the Cotton Bowl, and so I don't know if they want to splash it like that. I don't know.
Is it a player signing?
I think it's I think it smells more like a player signing, but
Yeah, it'll be interesting and then kind of give you an indication of where their head is all at. Whatever that is, that apparently is coming on Monday afternoon. They're making a big deal out of it, and they've done so much runway work in building that brand. So that's going to be really fun to watch.
They've done a really good job with their marketing and how they've gone about creating a brand image for that team. I think they've really done well with that. It just goes back with these guys. I just hope their expectations, their business plan is realistic for what we, expect things to go like. I think year 1 there'll be a splash, but then how do they do years 2 and 3? That's the telltale sign. And
100%. Yeah, we've been through this before.
Yeah, right.
30 years ago, we all were very, very eager and patient about a new league.
Yeah.
Launching
it's
and
hard
watching
to sell
it
one
grow.
soccer ticket, right? It is.
Yeah.
But their marketing actually has been really good.
It's been outstanding.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. The logo's even grown on me.
Oh.
It's true.
Yeah, it's a complicated logo, but hold on. Cut it off.
See, I did it again. It's time now for Andy's final World Cup quiz question.
So
Okay, I wrote my answers.
Yeah, I'm only going to require 3 others, not a 4th. I think I was wrong about the 4th.
Oh.
That's why I seemed a little distracted. Sorry, Peter, but
because I had 4. I wrote because my 4th one is a long shot.
Yeah, so pick the top 3 that you.
Well, let me throw my long shot out first because if I got that one right,
sure.
Is it Ramon Nunez?
No.
Because
very, very good guess.
Because he did play in a World Cup for Honduras
2010,
but he did not score.
Correct.
All right, my first one I think is obvious. Hugo Sanchez.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Second.
Yes.
For Switzerland, Alain Suter.
Correct. And we are looking for the 3 players that have scored a goal in the World Cup and have played for FC Dallas or Dallas Bern other than Peter Musa.
But not necessarily at the same time.
Right. Peter Musa is the only one that has done it at the same time.
Right. And I think the third, I believe, did it before he joined FC Dallas.
Very good.
Maybe my favorite all-time player.
Oh, my goodness.
Ted Eck? No. Lionel Alvarez.
No.
No.
He did not score in a World Cup. Lionel didn't.
I thought maybe he had scored in 90.
I'll tell you the one.
94. Yeah, 90.
No. Where I was wrong was Blas Perez. He scored, but it turned out that it was an own goal, even though he was the one that.
Okay, so who is the actual third?
Lubos Kubek scored for the Czech Republic in the 1990 World Cup.
That doesn't
Sorry,
count.
Peter.
That
Why
doesn't-
doesn't that count?
Because that was
he played for the team.
He played for like 3 minutes after coming over from the fire.
No, he did not. He played more than that, and he scored in a World Cup. So there.
Did you sign Lubos Kubik when you were the
We traded
GM?
for him.
Did you trade for him?
Yeah.
Was that an Andy Swift maneuver?
I think so. It was for the Ukrainian kid, Sergei Danov.
Oh,
remember?
Sergei Danov. Yeah, Sergei was great. I went to a Ukrainian restaurant here in town with Sergei one time, and it was the grossest food I've ever eaten in my life.
Ukrainian food is good.
Well, whatever I had that day was not. No, it was not. All right. Very good. Well, I got 2 of the 3.
You did. You did really well. And the Ramon Nunez was a good guess.
Thank you.
But
I appreciate that. I'm sure I'll hear it from Buzz later today. How did you get that wrong?
Yeah. Well, I thought Blas Perez, but it turns out his goal was
the own goal.
It was an own goal.
All right, P1s, here's the hard news. We did the show today, but Andy and I have decided to take a bit of a vacation. So for the next 2 weeks, there will be no KickAround. But we are tentatively planning to come back the week before the start of the Premier League. So we adore you. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you next time on The Ticket.
Broadcasting live from the TXU Energy Mothership at Victory Plaza, hard by the AAC. This is Sports Radio 96.7 and 1310, The Tick. KTCK AM Dallas Fort Worth, KTCK FM Flower Mound, a Cumulus station.